locked in a freezer. While pregnant, she gave birth to triplets and married a billionaire enemy. Vera's breath turned to white mist in the frozen air. The steel door had just slammed shut. And then, Julian's voice crackled through the intercom. Cold, detached, familiar. I'm sorry, Vera. I genuinely am. Her palm pressed against the frozen metal. Julian, please. The babies. Our babies. The life insurance is $3 million for accidental death. His tone stayed calm. Too calm. Accidental hypothermia. A tragic mistake. You were never supposed to be here this late. That's what I'll tell them. She was 9 months pregnant with triplets, standing in a negative 48-degree freezer. And her husband, the man she'd loved for 6 years, was explaining why he was murdering her. You planned this. For months. The late-night emergency call was brilliant, wasn't it? Come help with inventory. Don't tell anyone. Leave your phone in the car so the cold doesn't destroy it. You believed every word. 12 hours. That's how long Vera had to survive. Alone. In conditions that kill most people in 2. But what Julian didn't know, what he couldn't have predicted, was that Vera Loron was stronger than anyone suspected. And the billionaire he destroyed 8 years earlier, the man working late in the building next door, was about to notice something wrong. Before we dive deeper into how Vera survived the impossible, I need to know, where in the world are you watching from right now? Drop your city and country in the comments below. This family is growing across continents, and I want to see how far we've reached. And listen, if you believe survivors deserve justice, if you think this story needs to be heard, hit that subscribe button right now. Join the thousands of truth seekers who gather here for stories that matter, like this video, and share it with someone who needs to hear that survival is possible even when death seems certain. Because what you're about to hear will change how you see strength forever. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. 6 years before that freezer, before the babies, before the attempted murder, back to when Vera Loron thought she'd found her happily ever after. Vera was 32 when she met Julian Cross. Marketing professional, intelligent, independent, the kind of woman who had her life mapped out, career trajectory planned, future secured. She'd spent her 20s building something solid, a respected position at a tech startup, a circle of close friends, a small apartment she'd furnish herself, pride in every corner. Julian walked into her life at a networking event, restaurant supply industry mixer. She'd gone reluctantly, dragged by a friend who insisted she needed to get out more. And there he was, tall, well-dressed, charming smile that seemed to light up just for her. You look like you'd rather be anywhere else, he'd said, handing her a glass of wine. Vera had laughed. Is it that obvious? Only to someone who feels the same way. Julian leaned against the bar beside her. These things are torture. All small talk and business cards. But then, every once in a while, you meet someone who makes the whole evening worth it. It was a line. Looking back, Vera could see that clearly. But in the moment, in that dim bar with soft music playing, it felt like fate. They dated for 8 months before he proposed. 8 months of romantic dinners and weekend getaways. Of Julian showing up at her office with coffee. Of late-night conversations about their dreams. He was attentive, thoughtful, remembered every detail she shared. The wedding was small, intimate. Vera's parents flew in from Colorado. Her sister served as maid of honor. Julian's mother Marjorie attended with thin-lipped disapproval. She tried to hide behind a forced smile, but Vera barely noticed. She was too happy, too in love, too convinced she'd found her person. The first year of marriage was good. Or, it seemed good. That's what Vera would tell herself later, sitting in therapy, unpacking the slow, systematic destruction of her identity. It seemed good because she didn't know what to look for, didn't know how abusers work, how they build cages one bar at a time. It started with money. Small comments at first. You spent $200 on shoes? Julian's voice carried surprise rather than anger. That seemed to make it more reasonable. I'm not upset. I just think we should be more careful. We're saving for a house, remember? Vera felt guilty. She was being frivolous. They were saving. He was right. Why don't I handle our finances? Julian suggested a week later. I'm better with numbers. You focus on your job. I'll make sure we're on track for our goals. It made sense. Julian was methodical, organized, and Vera hated budgeting anyway. She handed over her paycheck. Direct deposit into their joint account. Julian managed everything. Within 3 months, Vera had asked permission for every purchase. She didn't realize it was permission. Julian never framed it that way. He just asked questions, review statements, sigh with disappointment when she bought lunch out instead of packing, until asking became easier than explaining, until she stopped buying anything without checking first. Then came the friends. Rachel called again. Julian mentioned one evening. They were having dinner. Pasta he'd cooked. Wine he'd poured. His tone was casual. Concerned. That's the 3rd time this week. Don't you think she's a bit needy? Vera defended her best friend. Rachel's going through a breakup. She needs support. I get that. Julian reached across the table. Squeeze her hand. I just worry she's draining you. You come home exhausted after seeing her. Maybe some distance would be healthy. For both of you. Vera saw Rachel less after that. Not because Julian forbade it. He never forbade anything. He just expressed concern. Looked hurt when she chose Rachel over him. Made comments about how much he'd missed her. Until choosing Rachel felt selfish. Until the friendship faded to occasional texts. One by one, Vera's friends dropped away. Her sister called less. Her parents heard from her mainly on holidays. And through it all, Julian was there. Constant. Reliable. The center of her shrinking world. Your marketing job. Julian brought it up 2 years into their marriage. They were in bed. Late night conversation. In the dark. Do you really enjoy it? Vera thought about it. I don't know. It's fine. It pays well. You seem stressed all the time. Coming home drained. Complaining about your boss. Julian's voice was soft. Caring. What if you took a break? We can afford it on my salary. You could focus on yourself for a while. Figure out what you really want. The idea was tempting. Vera was tired. Burn out. The thought of stepping away. Of having time to breathe. It sounded like relief. She quit 3 weeks later. Julian threw her a small celebration dinner. Just the two of them. He was so proud of her for prioritizing her well-being. So supportive of her journey of self-discovery. Except, there was no journey. There was their apartment. Julian's schedule. Meals to cook. Laundry to fold. Days that blurred together in domestic routine. And when Vera mentioned maybe looking for a new job, something less stressful, Julian had suggestions. The market's tough right now. Maybe wait until the economy stabilizes. You don't want to jump into something worse. Why rush? We're fine financially. Months passed. Then a year. Vera stopped looking. Stopped thinking about work. Her identity narrowed to one thing. Julian's wife. She didn't see the cage. That was the genius of it. Julian never locked her in. He just made every other option seem less appealing. Less safe. Less right. Until staying was the only choice that made sense. The pregnancy happened in year 5 of their marriage. Vera had been on birth control, but she'd gotten sick. Antibiotics for a respiratory infection. The pills failed. And suddenly, she was staring at 2 pink lines on a test stick. Terror was her first emotion. She'd lost herself so completely. How could she raise a child? But underneath the fear, there was something else. A tiny spark. Hope. Maybe a baby would fill the emptiness she felt. Maybe motherhood would give her purpose again. Julian. She found him in his office. The spare bedroom he converted into a workspace. She held out the test. Her hand shaking. I'm pregnant. His face went through several expressions. Too fast for her to read. Then settled on surprise. Joy. He stood. Crossed to her. Pulled her into his arms. We're having a baby. His voice sounded right. Excited. Warm. This is incredible, Vera. But she felt him tense. Just for a second. A momentary stiffness before the embrace. She told herself she'd imagined it. The first ultrasound came at 8 weeks. Vera lay on the examination table. Gel cold on her stomach. The technician moving the wand. Pausing. Moving again. Frowning slightly. Is everything okay? Vera's heart raced. Everything's fine. The technician smiled. More than fine, actually. You're having triplets. The room tilted. Vera heard ringing in her ears. Triplets. 3 babies. Julian's hand found hers. He was smiling, but his grip was too tight. Borderline painful. 3. He said it like he was testing the word. Wow. Wow. The doctor explained the risks. High-risk pregnancy. Likely premature birth. Bed rest probable. NICU almost certain. Weekly monitoring required. Vera absorbed it all in a daze. In the car ride home, Julian was quiet. Too quiet. You okay? Vera asked. Fine. He kept his eyes on the road. Just processing. It's a lot. It is. Are you upset? No. Julian glanced at her. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Just surprised. We'll figure it out. But something had shifted. Vera felt it. A coldness she couldn't name. A distance that hadn't been there before. That night, she woke at 2 a.m. Julian wasn't in bed. She found him in his office. Door slightly ajar. Light spilling into the hallway. She moved closer, about to announce herself, then heard his voice. Low. Tense. 600,000. I told you I'm working on it. Julian paused, listening to someone on the phone. I need more time. 2 months. I'll have it. I promise. Vera's stomach dropped. $600,000. What was he talking about? I said I'll handle it. Julian's voice hardened. Don't threaten me. I know what happens if I don't pay. Just give me 2 more months. The call ended. Vera heard him exhale, long and shaky. She backed away quietly, returned to bed, lay awake until dawn. She never asked him about the call. Part of her didn't want to know. Part of her was too afraid. The pregnancy progressed. Vera's belly swelled. 1 baby. 2. 3. Growing inside her. She felt them move. Felt their tiny kicks. Felt connected to them in a way she'd never felt connected to anything. These were hers. Truly hers. Julian couldn't take them from her. But Julian was different. Distant. He'd place his hand on her stomach when she asked. Smile for the camera at doctor appointments. Say the right things. But his eyes were always somewhere else. Calculating something she couldn't see. At 6 months, Vera fell down the stairs. That's what Julian told the ER doctor. She remembered it differently. Remembered Julian's hand on her back. Remembered the push. Brief. Hard. Then tumbling. Pain. Fear for the babies. You tripped. Julian told her in the hospital room. His voice was gentle. Concerned. You've been dizzy lately. The pregnancy. You need to be more careful. Had she tripped? Vera's memory felt fuzzy. Unreliable. Maybe he was right. Pregnancy brain. Clumsiness. She'd read about it. The baby survived. Bruised but alive. The doctor put her on modified bed rest. Julian was attentive. Brought her meals. Fluffed her pillows. Checked on her constantly. She felt guilty for doubting him. At 7 months, Vera got food poisoning. Violently ill. Vomiting. Cramping. Another ER visit. Another round of monitoring. The babies were fine. But Vera was weak. Dehydrated. Confused. The takeout must have been bad, Julian suggested. I had the chicken. You had the fish. Fish goes bad faster. I'm so sorry. I should have cooked. But Vera remembered. They both had chicken. She was certain. Wasn't she? Her certainty eroded more each day. Her reality felt slippery. Unreliable. Julian was the constant. The anchor. He told her what was true. And she believed him. Because what else could she do? At 8 months, the car brakes failed. Vera was driving to a doctor's appointment. Pressed the brake pedal at a red light. Nothing happened. The pedal went to the floor. She pumped frantically. The car rolled through the intersection. She cranked the wheel, mounted the curb, crashed into a mailbox. Airbag deployed. Belly pressed hard against the steering wheel despite the seatbelt. Another ER visit. Another miraculous survival. The babies. Still alive. The mechanic called it a brake line failure. Happened sometimes. Wear and tear. Julian had just had the car serviced 2 weeks earlier. Terrible luck. Terrible timing. Vera sat in the hospital bed, hands on her belly, feeling 3 heartbeats that refused to stop. And something crystallized in her mind. Something clear and sharp and terrifying. These weren't accidents. Julian was trying to kill her, trying to kill the babies, making it look natural, explainable, unfortunate. But the thought was too big, too horrible. She pushed it down, locked it away, told herself she was paranoid, hormonal, crazy. Julian loved her. He was her husband, the father of her children. He couldn't. She almost convinced herself. At 9 months pregnant, Vera was exhausted, huge, uncomfortable. The triplets were running out of room. The doctor scheduled a C-section for the following week. 37 weeks. Early but safe. The babies were developed enough. The risks of continuing outweighed the benefits. 1 more week. Then she'd meet them. Lily, Rose, James. She'd chosen the names herself. Julian had wanted to name the boy after himself, Julian Jr., but Vera had pushed back. One of the few times she'd insisted, and he'd relented, surprising her. She should have known something was wrong when he gave in so easily. Tuesday night, November, cold and dark. Vera was watching TV, some mindless reality show, trying to distract herself from the Braxton Hicks contractions that came and went. The babies shifted constantly, pressing on her ribs, her bladder, every organ simultaneously. Her phone rang. Julian, working late at the warehouse. Again. Hey, she answered. When are you coming home? That's why I'm calling. Julian's voice was tense, stressed. We have an emergency. The inventory system crashed. Everything's down. I need your help. Vera frowned. My help? Julian, I'm 9 months pregnant. I can barely move. I know. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't critical. You have that marketing tech background. You understand systems. I just need you to look at something. 20 minutes. Tops. Please, Vera. I'm desperate. She hesitated. Every instinct screamed no, but this was her husband, asking for help, and she hadn't been useful in so long. Hadn't contributed. Hadn't mattered. Okay. She pushed herself off the couch. Let me get dressed. Thank you. Relief flooded his voice. Come to the main warehouse. Cross Restaurant Supply. You know where it is. And, Vera, don't tell anyone you're coming. I don't want corporate finding out we had a system failure. Could cost me my job. Just between us. Okay. And leave your phone in the car. The temperature fluctuations in the warehouse. Cold storage areas. It'll damage your phone. Just leave it. We'll be quick. That made sense. Vera agreed. Hung up. Changed into a comfortable maternity dress. Light blue. Thin fabric. Julian had suggested she wear it that morning. Wear something comfortable. You'll be resting anyway. She grabbed a cardigan. Slipped on ballet flats. Waddled to the car. The November night was cold. Not freezing. Maybe 40 degrees. She turned on the heat. Started driving. The warehouse district was dark. Industrial buildings. Empty parking lots. Security lights casting orange pools. Vera's car was the only one moving. She pulled into the Cross Restaurant Supply lot. Saw Julian's car near the entrance. Parked beside it. She left her phone in the cup holder. Grabbed her purse. Hauled herself out of the car. Her back ached. The babies were heavy. Pressing down. She felt pressure. Constant. Uncomfortable. The main entrance was unlocked. Motion sensor lights flickered on as she entered. The lobby was empty. Quiet. Her footsteps echoed on tile floors. Julian? She called out. Back here. His voice came from somewhere deep in the building. Office area. Vera followed the sound. Down a hallway. Past break rooms. Storage closets. Conference rooms. All dark. All empty. Her unease grew with each step. She found him in a small office. Computer screens glowing. He looked up when she entered. Smiled. Thank you for coming. I know this is an imposition. It's fine. Vera lowered herself into a chair. Grateful to sit. What's the problem? The freezer inventory system. Julian stood. It's showing errors. I need you to look at the actual units. See if it's a sensor problem or a software glitch. Come on. I'll show you. He led her through the warehouse, past rows of shelving, pallets of supplies, industrial equipment. The building felt massive. Empty. Wrong. They reached a heavy steel door. Storage Unit C printed on a placard. Julian swiped his key card. The lock disengaged with a mechanical click. Just step inside for a second. He pulled the door open. Cold air rolled out. See the control panel on the left wall? Tell me if it's showing any error codes. Vera hesitated. The cold hit her like a wall. But Julian was waiting, expectant. She stepped inside. The freezer was maybe 15 by 15 feet. Industrial shelving lined the walls. Frozen supplies stacked neatly. A digital thermometer on the wall read -48 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't see a control panel. Vera turned back toward the door. Julian was already outside, his hand on the door. Their eyes met, and in that moment, Vera saw it. The truth she'd been avoiding. The reality she refused to acknowledge. His eyes were empty, cold, devoid of anything resembling love. Julian, no. She started toward him. The door slammed shut. The sound was final. Absolute. The lock engaged. Click. Click. Silence. The kind that screams. Vera stood frozen. Not from the cold yet. From disbelief. This wasn't happening. Couldn't be happening. She moved to the door. Grabbed the handle. Pulled. It didn't budge. She tried again. Pull. 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 That desperate motion of checking a locked door, knowing it won't open, unable to stop trying. Julian. Her voice echoed off steel walls. This isn't funny. Let me out. No answer. She pounded on the door. Julian. Julian, please. This isn't funny. The intercom crackled. Vera's head snapped up. A speaker in the corner. Julian's voice emerged. Calm. Clinical. Detached. I'm sorry, Vera. I genuinely am. Her palm pressed against a frozen metal door. The cold burned through her thin dress. Let me out. Please. The babies. The life insurance is $3 million for accidental death. His voice stayed even. Factual. Accidental hypothermia pays triple. And you were never supposed to be here this late. That's the story. Tragic accident. Pregnant wife helping with inventory. Got accidentally locked in. I assumed she'd left. Devastating loss. Vera's legs weakened. She leaned against the door for support, then jerked away. The metal seared her skin through the fabric. 9 months pregnant. Standing in a freezer set to -48 degrees. Her husband explaining why he was murdering her. You planned this. The words came out strangled, barely audible. For months, pride crept into Julian's voice. That horrible pride of a narcissist revealing his cleverness. The late-night call was genius, wasn't it? Come help with inventory. Don't tell anyone. Corporate can't know. Leave your phone. The cold will damage it. You believed every word. Every single word. Vera's throat constricted. 6 years of marriage. Every anniversary dinner. Every I love you. Every gentle touch. All of it. Calculations. Investments. Waiting for the payout. Julian, please. She tried again. Her voice breaking. Think about your children. Our children. I am thinking about them. The intercom crackle was static. $3 million thinks about children very effectively. Much better than a restaurant supply manager's salary with $600,000 in gambling debts. Much better than explaining to my mother why her successful son is actually bankrupt. Much better than 3 crying babies and a wife I never wanted in the first place. The truth landed like physical blows. He'd never loved her, never wanted her, never wanted the babies. She was a policy, a payout, a problem solved. How long? Vera whispered. How long have you been planning this? Since the ultrasound, when you said triplets. Julian's voice carried that same clinical detachment. I knew I couldn't afford 3 children. Couldn't afford you. I already owed money to people who don't accept excuses. Then I remembered the life insurance. $3 million. I increased it to that amount 6 months ago. You never even noticed. Too focused on nursery colors and baby names. It was almost too easy. Vera's vision blurred. Tears. Rage. Terror. All mixed together. The falls. The food poisoning. The brake failure. All him. All attempts. All failed. So he'd moved to something guaranteed. You're a monster. She said it clearly. Wanted him to hear. To know she saw him finally. Truly saw him. I'm a practical man in a difficult situation. You'll go to sleep in a few hours. Hypothermia is actually peaceful. You won't suffer much. The babies won't feel anything. It's more merciful than you think. Merciful. He thought murder was merciful. Please. Vera tried one last time. Please don't do this. The intercom went dead. Not silent. Dead. Switched off. Vera pounded on the door. Screamed his name. Begged. Pleaded. Offered anything. Everything. Nothing mattered. He was gone. Driving away. Already constructing his alibi. Already practicing his devastated husband performance. She was alone. Locked in a negative 48-degree freezer. 9 months pregnant with triplets. Wearing a thin cotton dress and ballet flats. No phone. No help. No hope. The digital thermometer glowed red. Negative 48. The number that would kill her. That would kill her babies. Vera's breath came in white clouds. She watched them form. Watched them dissipate. Counted them. 1, 2, 3. Breathing meant living. As long as she could see her breath. She was alive. The cold was already working. Creeping through her skin. Into her muscles. Her bones. Her fingers tingled. Then numbed. Her toes followed. The thin fabric of her dress provided zero protection. Less than zero. She looked around desperately. Searching for something. Anything. An escape route. A weapon. A miracle. The freezer was maybe 15 by 15 feet. Industrial shelving units lined 3 walls. Stacked with frozen vegetables. Meat. Pre-made sauces. Restaurant supplies. Nothing helpful. Nothing warm. Nothing that could break through a steel door designed to withstand extreme temperatures from both sides. The motion sensor lights reminded her of another horror. If she stopped moving, darkness would swallow everything. And in negative 48 degrees, stopping meant dying faster. Vera forced herself to move. Small shuffling steps. Her pregnant belly threw off her balance. Made movement awkward. Painful. But movement generated heat. Not much, but enough to keep her blood flowing a little longer. Enough to keep the lights on. Enough to keep fighting. At minute 8, the first contraction hit. Vera gasped. Her hand flew to her belly. The tightening. Unmistakable. No, not now. Not here. She was only 30 weeks pregnant. The C-section was scheduled for next week. 37 weeks. The babies needed more time. Needed warmth. Needed a hospital. Her body didn't care about should or shouldn't. Her body was shutting down from hypothermia. And a body in crisis does one thing. Tries to expel the pregnancy. Tries to save itself. Even at the cost of the fetuses. The contraction passed. Vera breathed through it. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. The techniques from birthing class. Practice in a warm, comfortable room with Julian beside her. Julian timing contractions. Julian offering encouragement. Julian pretending to care. Every memory was poisoned now. Every moment tainted. 6 years of her life. A lie. An elaborate con. A slow destruction of her identity leading to this moment. This freezer. This death. Another contraction. 7 minutes after first. Vera squatted through it. Counted. 1, 2, 3, 4. The contraction peaked. Held her in its grip. Released. Labor was beginning, whether she wanted it or not. Her body was going into crisis mode. And crisis mode meant birth. Vera's mind raced. What did she know about childbirth? She'd taken classes. Read books. Watched videos. Prepared for a planned C-section in a sterile hospital with doctors and nurses and equipment. Not this. Never this. Delivering alone in sub-zero temperatures with nothing. No help. No supplies. No chance. But giving up meant Julian won. Meant he got his $3 million. Meant her babies died without taking a breath. Without knowing their mother fought. Without knowing they were wanted. Loved. Worth fighting for. Vera refused to let him win. She kept moving. Small circles around the freezer. Squat, stand, squat, stand. The motion helped with contractions, helped with circulation, helped her feel like she was doing something, anything. Memories flooded in between contractions, things she'd ignored, explained away, normalized, the way Julian controlled their money. Every purchase questioned, every expense analyzed, until asking permission became easier than fighting. The way he isolated her, comments about her friends, concerns about her family, subtle manipulations until he was her only connection to the world. The way he diminished her. Her job wasn't fulfilling. Her opinions weren't informed. Her feelings weren't valid. Until she believed him. Until she disappeared. A cage built one bar at a time. You don't see it because you're not supposed to see it. That's what makes it perfect. Vera had read about this in articles. Domestic violence awareness posts. Survivor stories. She'd always thought, not me. I'd see it. I'd leave. I'm too smart to fall for that. But intelligence had nothing to do with it. Abusers didn't target stupid women. They targeted strong women. Because breaking someone strong made them feel powerful. Another contraction. 6 minutes after the last. Stronger. Longer. More painful. Vera leaned against the center aisle. Careful not to touch the frozen shelves. Breathe through it. The pain was incredible. But pain meant her body was working. Meant the babies were coming. At minute 19, her water broke. Vera felt the gush. Warm fluid running down her legs. Then hitting the freezing floor. Steam rose. The amniotic fluid began to freeze almost immediately. She watched it pool. Watched ice crystals form. Watched physical evidence of life meeting death. This was happening. She was going into active labor in a negative 48-degree freezer. Alone. And somehow, she had to deliver 3 premature babies and keep them alive until someone found them. If anyone found them, Julian had been meticulous. The late call, the isolated location, the phone left behind, the story already prepared. No one knew she was here. No one would look until morning. By then, it would be far too late. Vera pushed the thought away. Someone would come. Someone had to come. The universe couldn't be this cruel. But deep down, in a place she didn't want to acknowledge, she knew Julian had planned everything, thought of every detail, made sure no one would look for her until she was already dead. Another contraction, 5 minutes apart now. Regular, unstoppable. The babies were coming whether conditions were right or not. Vera removed her cardigan. Her fingers fumbled with the buttons. Already numb from cold. Clumsy. Slow. She finally got it off. Wrapped it around her enormous belly. Better the babies stay warm 10 more minutes than her. Better they have some protection when they emerged into this frozen hell. The dress was sleeveless now. The cold attacked her exposed arms. Her shoulders. Her neck. Every inch of skin burned. Then numbed. Then stopped feeling anything at all. She kept moving. Had to keep moving. Squat. Stand. Squat. Stand. Her muscles screamed. Her body begged for rest. But rest meant death. Rest meant giving up. Rest meant Julian won. Mama's here. Vera told the babies. Her voice sounded strange in the frozen air. Echoey. Desperate. Small. Mama's fighting. We're all going to survive this. All 4 of us. I promise. But promises were easy. Keeping them was hard. The contractions came faster. For minutes apart. 3 minutes. 2. Active labor progressing exactly like the books described. Except the books assumed warmth. Safety. Help. Not this. Never this. At minute 47. The first baby crowned. Vera felt the ring of fire. The burning pressure. The impossible sensation of a human being passing through her body. She squatted in the center of the freezer. Her body taking over. Instinct replacing thought. The pain was all-consuming, searing, beyond anything she'd imagined. But pain meant progress. Pain meant life. Pain meant her daughter was coming. One more push. Vera bore down, felt the head emerge fully, reached down with numb fingers, supported the tiny skull, just like she'd learned, just like she'd practiced on a doll in a warm, comfortable birthing class. Another push. The shoulders. the body, the legs, a complete human being sliding into her frozen hands. A girl, tiny, maybe 3 pounds, blue, silent, not breathing. Terror seized Vera's heart. No, 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 please, baby, please breathe. She rubbed the tiny back, stimulated the small body, cleared the mouth with a finger she could barely feel. Come on, breathe. A gasp, tiny, weak, then a thin cry. Vera sobbed. The sound tore from her throat. Relief, joy, terror, all mixed together. Her daughter was alive. Too small, too blue, too cold, but alive. She pressed the tiny body against her chest, skin to skin, the only warmth she could offer, wrapped the cardigan around them both. You're so strong. Vera whispered, Mama's got you. You're safe. But safe was a lie. They were dying. Just slower now. Another contraction hit. Immediate. Hard. The second baby was coming. Vera couldn't do this. Couldn't deliver another baby while holding the first. Couldn't keep one warm while birthing the second. It was impossible. But impossible was all she had. She adjusted her position, held her first daughter against her chest with one arm. The tiny heartbeat fluttered against her skin. Weak but present. Alive. The second baby came faster. Her body knew what to do now. Knew the path. The mechanics. The horrible rhythm of bringing life into a place of death. Vera pushed, felt the head crown, reached down with her free hand, supported, guided. Another push. Another girl slid into her palm. Also blue. Also silent. Also too small. Vera had no hands left. One arm clutched her first daughter. The other held her second. She couldn't stimulate properly. Couldn't clear the airway the way she should. Could only use her chin, her shoulder, anything. Please. God. Please. The baby gasped, coughed, made a sound like a kitten mewing. 2 daughters. 2 miracles. 2 impossibly fragile lives pressed against her chest. Vera wrapped the cardigan around both of them. Tried to share her failing body heat. Her vision was blurring now, edges going dark. Hypothermia was winning, stealing her thoughts, her coordination, her ability to fight. But she wasn't done. One more baby, one more push, one more impossible thing. The third contraction came before she could catch her breath, faster than the others. Her body was in full crisis now, trying to survive, trying to expel everything, trying to choose between mother and babies. Vera chose the babies, had already chosen them, would always choose them. The third baby, a boy, smallest of the 3, came with less resistance, less fight. She held 2 daughters against her chest, delivered her son with nothing but willpower and desperation. He was blue, barely breathing. His tiny chest struggled, rose, fell, rose again. Weakly, Vera had no room left, no hands, no way to help him properly. She tucked him against his sisters. 3 babies, all pressed together against her chest, all sharing the cardigan, all sharing her diminishing warmth, all alive, against every medical probability, against every law of nature, alive. She couldn't cut the umbilical cords, had no scissors, no sterile equipment, no way to do it safely. So she didn't. Let the placentas deliver naturally. Let the cords remain attached. Let biology finish what it started. Vera looked at her watch, had to blink several times to focus. The numbers swam, blurred, finally resolved. 7:45 a.m. Nearly 8 hours. 8 hours locked in this frozen hell. 8 hours of fighting, of laboring, of refusing to die. The babies were born, but they wouldn't survive long. Not in this cold, not this premature, not without medical intervention. And Vera, she was shutting down, could feel it. Her thoughts were foggy, disconnected. Her vision dimmed at the edges. Her muscles had stopped shivering. That was bad. She remembered reading that. When shivering stops, the end is close. Your body has given up trying to generate heat. She looked down at 3 tiny faces, eyes closed, barely breathing. They looked unreal, like dolls, too small, too perfect, too fragile. I'm sorry, Vera whispered. Her voice was barely audible. Mama tried. Mama fought so hard. Her eyes closed. She couldn't keep them open anymore. So tired. So cold. So ready to stop fighting. The lights in the freezer flickered. Her movements had slowed too much. Soon there would be darkness. Soon there would be silence. Soon there would be 4 small bodies frozen in time. But not yet. Not quite yet. Because, in a parking lot 3 buildings away, someone was about to notice something wrong. Alexander Dominic noticed the car at 7:52 a.m. He'd been working all night. Again, building an empire required sacrifice. Sleep was negotiable. Success wasn't. His cybersecurity firm, Dominic Tech Solutions, occupied the modern glass building 3 doors down from Cross Restaurant Supply. They shared a parking complex, shared security, shared nothing else. Alexander rarely paid attention to other cars, other businesses, other people's problems. He had enough of his own, but the silver sedan caught his eye. Hazard lights blinking. Weak. Battery dying. He'd seen that car when he'd arrived last night. 11 p.m. working late on the new encryption project. The hazards had been blinking then. Still blinking now. 9 hours later. Wrong. That was wrong. Alexander walked toward the car. His breath misted in the cold November morning. The temperature hovered around 20 degrees. Cold, but nothing compared to what waited inside that warehouse. He peered through the car window. A purse sat on the passenger seat. A phone in the cup holder. The screen lit up with notifications. Text messages. Missed calls. Someone was looking for this person. Alexander tried the door. Locked. Of course. He checked the parking sticker. Cross Restaurant Supply. Employee parking. That name. Cross. Julian Cross. Alexander's jaw tightened. Memories flooded back. 8 years old but fresh as yesterday. Business school. Partnership. Betrayal. Julian Cross had been his classmate, his friend, his business partner. They developed revolutionary software together. A database encryption system. Worth millions. Alexander had done most of the coding. Julian handled the business side. 50-50 partnership. Handshake agreement while they finalized paperwork. Except Julian went to investors alone. Presented the software as his sole creation. Forged Alexander's signature on transfer documents. When Alexander found out, tried to expose him, Julian fabricated evidence. Made it look like Alexander had embezzled from their account, had stolen code, had violated their agreement. The accusations nearly destroyed Alexander. Lost investors. Lost reputation. Lost 3 years fighting lawsuits Julian initiated. By the time the truth emerged, by the time Alexander proved his innocence, Julian had sold the platform for $8 million. Disappeared into the restaurant supply industry. Built a new life, new identity. Alexander rebuilt from nothing. Took 5 years. Blood, sweat, obsession. His company was worth $500 million now. But he'd never forgotten, never forgiven, never stopped documenting Julian's pattern of fraud. And now, Julian's employee's car. Abandoned. Hazards dying. Phone inside lighting up with calls. Every instinct Alexander had developed over 8 years of rebuilding. Over countless negotiations and risk assessments and threat analyses. Every instinct screamed danger. He pulled out his phone. Called building security. A bored voice answered. Security. This is Alexander Dominic. Dominic Tech Solutions. There's an abandoned car in the lot. Employee vehicle from Cross Restaurant Supply. Hazards have been on for 9 hours. Phone inside. Person missing. You need to check that building now. Sir, I can't just... Now. Alexander's voice carried 8 years of controlled fury. 8 years of waiting for Julian Cross to make a mistake. Check it now. I'll meet you there. He hung up. Didn't wait for agreement. Started walking toward the Cross Restaurant Supply building. 5 minutes later, Alexander stood in the lobby with a skeptical security guard named Pete. Older guy, thick neck, tired eyes, the kind who'd seen everything and believed nothing. Pete scrolled through keycard access logs on his computer. Let's see. Cross Restaurant Supply. Julian Cross checked in at 11:47 p.m. No checkout scan yet. Alexander leaned over the desk. Where did he access? Pete squinted at the screen. His card shows. Freezer access. Storage Unit C. At 11:52 p.m. Then nothing else. And he left, Alexander said. His car is in the lot. Pete shrugged. Must have gotten a ride. Happens sometimes. Except his employee's car is abandoned with hazards on. Alexander's voice was ice. For 9 hours, with her phone inside, and missed calls piling up. Does that sound like she got a ride? Pete looked uncomfortable. Maybe she. Open the freezers. Alexander interrupted. All of them. Now, sir, I don't have authority to. Alexander pulled out his wallet. $500 bills landed on the desk. You have authority now. Open them. Pete looked at the money, looked at Alexander's face. Whatever he saw there made him grab his keys. They moved through the warehouse, past dark offices, empty break rooms, rows of industrial shelving. Pete opened Storage Unit A, supplies. No people. Storage Unit B, equipment. Empty. Storage Unit C. Pete's hand hesitated on the keycard reader. Julian Cross accessed this unit at 11:52 p.m. Pete checked his tablet. Nobody else in or out. 8 hours ago. 8 hours in the commercial freezer. Nobody survived that. Impossible. But Alexander's instincts, the same instincts that rebuilt his company, that detected patterns others missed, that saw threats before they materialized, those instincts were screaming. Open it. His voice was quiet, deadly certain. Pete swiped his card. The lock disengaged with a mechanical click. He pulled a heavy door. It swung open with a hydraulic hiss. Cold air rolled out. Negative 48 degrees meeting 20 degrees. White fog, thick condensation. Alexander couldn't see through it at first. Couldn't see anything but white. Then the fog cleared. Alexander's world stopped. A woman sat slumped against the far wall. Blue-white skin. Purple lips. Not moving. Her thin maternity dress was soaked. Frozen. Her hair was white with frost. And in her arms, wrapped in a small cardigan, 3 tiny bundles. Oh my God. Pete's voice cracked. Is she? Alexander was moving before his brain caught up, dropped to his knees beside her. His hands found her neck, felt for a pulse. Please, please. There, weak, barely present. But there, call 911. Alexander shouted. His voice echoed off frozen steel. Now, woman and 3 infants. Severe hypothermia. Possible. Just call. Now. Pete fumbled for his phone. Started talking to dispatch. Coordinates. Emergency. Hurry. Alexander touched the first bundle. So small. So cold. Blue skin. But a heartbeat. Faint. Rapid. Alive. He checked the second. Also alive. The third. A boy. Also breathing. His mind couldn't process it. Couldn't comprehend. She delivered 3 babies alone in negative 48 degrees. And all 4 of them were still alive. He stripped off his suit jacket, his thermal undershirt, wrapped the babies. Tried to warm them, without warming them too fast. Hypothermia victims needed gradual rewarming. Too fast caused cardiac arrest. The woman's eyes fluttered, opened, unfocused, delirious. Please. Her voice was barely a whisper. Don't let them die. They're so small. Please. I've got them, Alexander said, kept his voice steady. Calm. I've got you. Help is coming. Stay awake. What's your name? Vera. Her lips were so purple the word was almost unintelligible. Vera Cross. Cross. Julian's wife. Alexander had never met her, but he'd seen photos, company events, social media, always smiling beside Julian. The perfect couple. The perfect lie. Now she sat dying, holding 3 babies Julian had tried to murder. Vera, I'm Alexander. Paramedics are coming. You're gonna be okay. All of you. He locked me in. Vera's eyes tried to focus on his face. My husband, Julian. He locked me in here, said the life insurance. $3 million. He needs the money. Gambling debts. He planned it. Months. Her words trailed off, eyes closing again. Stay awake. Alexander touched her face gently, tried to stimulate consciousness. Stay with me. Vera, stay awake. He tried to kill us. Vera whispered. For money. Our babies. He tried to kill our babies. Alexander's blood turned to ice. Not from the freezer. From rage. Pure. Incandescent. Controlled. Julian hadn't just stolen from him. Hadn't just lied and destroyed and ruined lives with fraud. Julian had locked his pregnant wife in a freezer. Left her to deliver their children alone. Attempted to murder 4 people. For insurance money. Calculated. Premeditated. Evil in its purest form. Except he'd failed. Because Alexander had noticed a car. Because instinct had screamed. Because 9 hours wasn't quite long enough. Sirens wailed outside. Paramedics rushed in. Alexander stepped back. Let them work. Watch them assess vital signs. Wrap the babies in warming blankets. Load Vera onto a stretcher. Start IVs. Oxygen masks. Controlled rewarming protocols. Mr. Dominic. Pete stood beside him. His face was white. Shaken. Did she say her husband locked her in? Yes. Alexander's voice was cold. Clinical. We need to call the police. Now. Pete nodded. Pulled out his phone. Alexander followed the ambulances to the hospital. He didn't know Vera. Didn't know her anything. But he knew Julian. And he knew evil when he saw it. And he wasn't going to let evil win. Not this time. Before we continue with what happened at the hospital, I need to pause here. If the story is gripping you, if you're feeling the weight of what Vera survived, hit that like button right now and drop a comment. Tell me, what would you do if you discovered someone like Julian in your life? How do we protect the vulnerable? How do we spot the signs? Your engagement helps this story reach people who need to hear it. People trapped in cages they can't see yet. Share this video. Subscribe to this channel. Because stories like Vera's, they need to be told. They need to be heard. And they need to spark conversation about how we believe survivors, how we support them, how we make sure monsters like Julian face justice. Now, let's get back to the hospital. Vera woke 48 hours later. The first thing she felt was warmth. Real warmth. Not the burning cold of the freezer. Actual heat. Blankets. Heated air. Life. The second thing she felt was pain. Everything hurt. Her hands. Her feet. Her chest. Her abdomen. Every cell screaming. Pain meant alive. She'd learned that in the freezer. Pain meant surviving. Her eyes opened slowly. White ceiling. Beeping machines. The antiseptic smell of a hospital. ICU probably. Based on the equipment. A woman sat beside the bed. Older. Gray hair pulled back. Kind eyes. Scrubs. Doctor. Vera. The woman leaned forward. Can you hear me? I'm Dr. Vivian Matthews. You're in the ICU. You've been unconscious for 2 days. Vera tried to speak. Her throat was raw. Damage from breathing frozen air. My babies. The words came out as a rasp. We're my babies. Dr. Matthews smiled. Gentle. Warm. Your babies are alive. All 3 of them. Tears spilled down Vera's cheeks. She couldn't stop them. Didn't try. Alive. Her children were alive. They're in the NICU. Dr. Matthews continued. Neonatal intensive care. Critical but stable. Your daughters. Lily is 3 pounds 2 ounces. Rose is 2 pounds 15 ounces. Your son James is 2 pounds 12 ounces. 30 weeks gestation. Born in -48 degrees. By every medical standard, they shouldn't have survived. But they did. Can I see them? Vera's voice broke. Soon. Dr. Matthews squeezed her hand. First, we need to talk about your injuries. You have severe frostbite. We had to amputate 3 toes on your left foot. Your hands have significant nerve damage. Some fingers may not regain full function. You have hypothermia-related organ stress. Kidney damage. Possible cardiac issues we're monitoring. Vera absorbed this. 3 toes gone. Nerve damage. Organ failure. The price of survival. Scars she'd carry forever. But alive. Her babies were alive. That was all that mattered. Dr. Matthews' expression shifted. Became harder. Your husband filed a missing persons report 16 hours after locking you in that freezer. Claimed you'd run away. Said pregnancy hormones made you unstable. He was very convincing, until security footage showed him leaving the building alone, after accessing the freezer unit, with his key card. Is he arrested? Vera asked. Yes. 3 counts of attempted murder. 1 for you. 1 for each baby. He's in custody. The police want your statement when you're ready. Relief washed over Vera. Then exhaustion. Then something else. Grief. For the life she thought she had. The marriage that was always a lie. The 6 years she'd never get back. There's someone who wants to see you. Dr. Matthews said. The man who found you. Alexander Dominic. He's been here every day. Checking on you and the babies. Should I send him in? Vera nodded. She remembered him. Vaguely. Through the fog of hypothermia. Kind voice. Strong hands. The person who opened the door. Alexander entered quietly. He looked different than she remembered, less put together, tired, like he hadn't slept in days. Vera, he stopped a few feet from bed. How are you feeling? Alive. She managed a weak smile. Because of you. You saved us. I just noticed a car. Alexander moved closer, sat in the chair Dr. Matthews had vacated. Anyone would have done the same. But you did it. Vera's voice was fierce despite its weakness. You didn't ignore it. Didn't assume everything was fine. You checked. You insisted. You saved my baby's lives. Alexander was quiet for a moment. Then, your husband, Julian, he and I have history. Vera waited, listening. 8 years ago, we were business partners. Alexander's voice was controlled. Careful. He stole my code, forged my signature, fabricated embezzlement charges against me, cost me 3 years of my life fighting lawsuits, nearly destroyed me. Vera's stomach dropped. Of course Julian had done this before, to someone else. He was a pattern, not an aberration. I'm so sorry. She whispered. You didn't know. Alexander met her eyes. And you're not responsible for his evil. But I want you to know, I'm going to help you. Legal fees, medical bills, whatever you need. Because Julian's defense team will be expensive. His mother will hire the best lawyers money can buy. And you need someone in your corner who won't be intimidated. Why would you do that? Vera asked. You don't know me. Because I know Julian. Alexander's voice was steel wrapped in silk. I know what he's capable of. I know how he operates. And I have 8 years of evidence documenting his pattern of fraud and deception. Evidence that will help your case. Evidence that shows attempted murder wasn't a mistake. It's who he is. Vera processed this. A stranger offering help. Resources. Evidence. Asking nothing in return. It felt wrong. After 6 years with Julian, help always came with strings. Always had costs. Hidden agendas. I don't know how to trust people anymore. Vera admitted. Julian made sure I couldn't. Then don't trust me. Alexander said simply. Not yet. Just let me help. Trust can come later. Or not. Either way, I'm seeing this through. Vera studied his face. Looked for manipulation. For hidden costs. For the catch. Found nothing but sincerity. Determination. Controlled fury at injustice. Okay, she said quietly. Help me, please. 20 minutes later, a nurse wheeled Vera to the NICU. 3 isolates. 3 tiny bodies. Wires. Tubes. Machines. Monitoring. Supporting. Keeping them alive. Vera's hands shook as she reached through the isolate opening. Touched Lily's impossibly small hand. 5 fingers. Perfect. Miniature. Alive. Mama's here. She whispered. Mama's so proud of you. You fought so hard. All of you. Rose's eyes opened. Dark blue. Unfocused. But looking. Aware. That moment of connection. Mother and daughter. 2 souls recognizing each other. James yawned. Tiny mouth. Tiny nose. So small he looked unreal. But his chest rose and fell. Breathing on his own now. No ventilator. Just oxygen support. A nurse stood nearby. Young. Kind face. Name tag, said Jennifer. They're amazing, Jennifer said softly. The doctors keep calling them the miracle triplets. Babies born in those conditions shouldn't survive. But these 3, they're fighters. They get it from their mother, a male voice said from the doorway. Vera turned. Alexander stood there, watching, gentle smile on his face. You saved them, Vera said again. I can't ever repay that. You saved them. Alexander walked closer. You delivered 3 babies alone. Kept them alive for 8 hours in negative 48 degrees. You did that. I just opened the door. The trial preparation began 2 weeks later. Vera was still in the hospital, still recovering. But Julian's lawyers were already filing motions, trying to get bail reduced, trying to exclude evidence, trying to paint Vera as unstable. Alexander brought his legal team, top prosecutors, the best defense attorneys turned prosecution advocates. They sat around Vera's hospital bed, prepared her for what was coming. The defense will attack your credibility. The lead attorney, a sharp woman named Patricia Chun, explained carefully. They'll say you're mentally unstable, that pregnancy hormones affected your judgment, that you're vindictive, want Julian's money, that you locked yourself in the freezer to frame him. It's absurd. Vera said. Who would do that? Doesn't matter if it's absurd. Patricia said. Matters if it creates reasonable doubt. We need you ready for every question, every accusation, every attempt to make you look unreliable. They practice for hours. Mock cross-examination, brutal questions, personal attacks. Vera learned to stay calm, stay factual, not get defensive, let the evidence speak. Detective Laura Friedman visited, took Vera's full statement, every detail, the phone call, the warehouse, the freezer, Julian's confession over the intercom, the 8 hours, the labor, the births, the desperate fight for survival. As Vera talked, the memories crystallized, became evidence, became pieces of a case that would send Julian to prison. We have security footage. Detective Friedman explained. Shows Julian entering the freezer unit with you, leaving alone 20 minutes later, driving away, returning 16 hours later. His keycard logs match perfectly. He filed the missing persons report from his car. Already had his story ready. Wife ran away. Pregnancy hormones. Mental instability. He'd rehearsed it. Vera felt sick. Every detail planned. Every word practiced. Every angle covered. Julian had been 2 minutes away from committing the perfect murder. Except Alexander had noticed the car, had followed instinct, had refused to ignore what seemed wrong. Alexander also brought evidence from 8 years ago. Financial records, forged documents, email chains, witness statements. A complete picture of Julian's pattern of fraud and calculated deception. If we use this in your trial, Alexander explained, it establishes pattern, shows Julian is capable of long-term planning for financial gain, shows this was an impulse. It's who he is. But, Patricia added, it also exposes Alexander to civil liability. He's had this evidence for over a year. Prosecutors could argue he should have come forward earlier. I'll take that risk. Alexander said, justice matters more than protecting myself. Vera looked at him. Really looked. This man who kept showing up, who asked for nothing, who risked himself for strangers. Who was he? Rachel Morrison burst into the hospital room 3 days later. Red hair flying, freckled face streaked with tears. Vera's best friend since college. The one person Julian hadn't completely alienated. Mainly because Rachel lived 3 states away. Grace. Oh my God. Grace. Rachel hugged her carefully, sobbing. I came as soon as I heard. The news said. They said attempted murder. I couldn't believe. Didn't want to believe. It's true, Vera said quietly. All of it. He locked me in. Tried to kill us. For insurance money. Rachel pulled back. Looked at the bandaged hands. The missing toes. The monitors. Your babies. Where are your babies? NICU. Alive. Thriving actually. Want to meet them? They went to the NICU together. Rachel cried seeing the 3 tiny miracles. Lily. Rose. James. Impossibly small. Impossibly alive. You did this. Rachel whispered. You kept them alive. I didn't have a choice. Vera said. Giving up meant Julian won. I refused to let him win. Over the next weeks, a picture emerged of Julian's planning. his debts, his desperation. Financial experts found $600,000 in gambling losses, online poker, sports betting, high-stakes games with dangerous people, people who didn't accept excuses or extensions. The life insurance policy increased to $3 million 6 months ago. Triple payout for accidental death. Julian had made sure of that. Search history on his computer. Hypothermia timelines. Freezer specifications. How long can someone survive in extreme cold? Symptoms of frostbite. When does death occur? Maintenance logs. The freezer door had been tested multiple times over 6 months. Opened, closed, locked, unlocked. Julian practicing, making sure he knew exactly how it worked. And character witnesses came forward. People who'd known Julian before Vera, before the restaurant supply job, before the carefully constructed, respectable facade. A former co-worker. Julian had embezzled from a previous employer. Small amounts. Never enough to prosecute, but enough to get quietly fired. A former girlfriend. He'd been controlling, isolating, verbally abusive. She'd left, changed her number, disappeared rather than deal with him. A college roommate. Julian had a gambling problem even then. Borrowed money. Never paid it back. Lied constantly. About everything. Pattern. Established. Documented. Undeniable. Julian's arraignment made national news. Restaurant supply manager accused of locking pregnant wife in freezer. Miracle triplets born at -48 degrees. Husband claims innocence. Vera watched from her hospital bed. Julian wore an expensive suit. Hair perfect. Expression devastated. He looked like the grieving husband. The confused victim. The man whose world had collapsed. Bail set at $5 million. Marjorie Bennett, Julian's mother, wrote the check without hesitation. Julian walked out of the courtroom. Free. Pending trial. Vera's hands shook. Not from frostbite. From rage. He tried to murder us. And he's free. People are defending him. Alexander sat beside her bed. His presence had become routine. Expected. Comforting. Not for long. He said quietly, "The evidence is overwhelming. He'll go to prison. I promise you that." But Julian's narrative spread. Media outlets. Social media. Public opinion. Some called it a domestic dispute gone wrong. Some questioned Vera's version. Some wondered if pregnancy hormones had made her paranoid, confused, unstable. Julian gave interviews. Crying. Breaking down. He loved his wife. These accusations were devastating. It was a terrible misunderstanding. He'd locked the freezer for inventory. Assumed Vera had left. Would never hurt his family. The pregnancy had made her paranoid. He was heartbroken. Marjorie stood beside him, vouching for his character, calling Vera vindictive, manipulative, unstable. He's gaslighting the entire country. Rachel paced the hospital room. People are believing him. I'm seeing comments. Saying you're lying. Saying you want his money. Saying pregnancy made you crazy. That's what abusers do. Vera said. Her voice was tired. Flat. They lie. They manipulate. They make you doubt reality. It's who they are. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her. Vera, it's Marjorie, Julian's mother. Her voice was clipped. Cold. I want you to drop these ridiculous charges. Derek made a mistake. He's devastated. You're being vindictive, using the babies as leverage. He locked me in a freezer to die. Vera's voice stayed level. For insurance money. That's not a mistake. That's attempted murder. You always were dramatic. Marjorie's tone dripped condescension. Hormonal. Julian said you needed psychiatric help. Maybe he was right. Vera hung up. Didn't engage. Didn't defend. Didn't waste energy. That moment when you realize some people will never believe you, and you stop trying to convince them. It was liberating. The trial began 4 months later. February. Cold. Gray. Appropriate weather for judging a monster. Vera sat at the prosecution table. Navy suit. Rachel had helped her pick it out. Conservative. Respectful. Strong. The kind of outfit that said, take me seriously without saying anything at all. Julian sat at the defense table. Expensive suit. perfect hair, wounded expression. The performance continued. Jury selection took 2 days. 7 women, 5 men, ages ranging from 28 to 67. Mixed backgrounds. Some parents, some not. It would have to be enough. Opening statements painted 2 realities. Prosecution, straightforward truth. Premeditated attempted murder for insurance money. Clear, simple, horrifying. Defense, tragic misunderstanding. Mentally unstable wife. False accusations. Pregnant woman's paranoid delusions. Man being railroaded. Some jurors nodded at the defense. Doubt being planted. Seeds taking root. First witnesses established timeline. Security guard Pete. Keycard access logs. Julian entering with Vera. Leaving alone. Security footage played. Grainy, but clear. Julian and Vera walking towards storage unit C. Julian exiting 20 minutes later. Alone. His car leaving. Returning 16 hours later. Facts. Irrefutable. Dr. Matthews testified. Described Vera's injuries. The amputations. The nerve damage. The medical impossibility of surviving 8 hours at negative 48 degrees. In 30 years of emergency medicine, Dr. Matthews said, her voice steady, certain, I have never seen anyone survive exposure like this. The fact that Mrs. Cross delivered 3 premature babies and kept them alive in those conditions, it defies medical explanation. It's impossible, except it happened. Alexander testified, finding Vera, the 3 babies, the scene, Vera's words. He locked me in. Financial experts. Julian's gambling debts. 600,000 owed. Life insurance increase. 3 million payout. Motive. Clear. Overwhelming. Detective Friedman. Julian's search history. Freezer door tests. Missing persons report file from his car. Prepared narrative. Every detail planned. The prosecution built their case methodically, brick by brick, fact by fact, until the truth was undeniable. Then came day 4. Vera's testimony. She'd practiced for this, prepared for every question, every attack, every attempt to discredit her, but sitting in the witness box, facing Julian across the courtroom. All the preparation felt inadequate. His eyes were cold, hateful, the mask fully off now. Just for her, just for this moment. She refused to look away, refused to be intimidated, refused to give him power. Mrs. Cross, the prosecutor began gently. Please tell the jury what happened on November 10th. Vera took a breath, started at the beginning. The phone call, the warehouse, the freezer. Julian's voice over the intercom, his confession, the life insurance, the gambling debts. His admission of planning for months. Every word, every moment, every second of the 8 hours. The labor, the births, the desperate fight to keep her babies alive. Her voice stayed steady. She'd promised herself she wouldn't cry, wouldn't show weakness, wouldn't give Julian satisfaction. She kept that promise. The defense cross-examination was brutal. Isn't it true you threatened to leave Mr. Cross? The defense attorney, a man in his 50s with practiced skepticism, asked, yes, because he pushed me down the stairs when I was 5 months pregnant. But you stayed. I stayed because I was terrified, because he controlled all our money, because he'd isolated me from everyone, because leaving an abuser is the most dangerous time for a victim. Isn't it true you have a history of depression? I was depressed because I was being abused. Isn't it possible pregnancy hormones affected your memory, made you paranoid? No, I remember everything clearly. Every word Julian said, every moment in that freezer, every second of fighting to keep my babies alive. The attorney pressed for 90 minutes. Getting nowhere, Vera was unshakable. Finally, he dismissed her. Frustrated, defeated, Vera walked back to her seat. Rachel squeezed her hand. Alexander nodded. She'd done it. Survived cross-examination. Told her truth. The rest was up to the jury. The defense called character witnesses. Julian's co-workers, friends, mother, all testified to his good character, his kindness, his devastation over these false charges. Marjorie's testimony was vicious, painted Vera as unstable, manipulative, a woman who'd trapped her son with pregnancy, who'd weaponized children, who'd made up lies to ruin his life. Each word landed like a slap, but Vera didn't react, didn't engage, just sat, calm, present, unbreakable. Then the defense called their surprise witness, Miranda Stevens, 32, blonde, nervous. The attorney established that Miranda had dated Julian 7 years ago, before Vera, before marriage. Tell us about Mr. Cross, the attorney said. His character. He was gentle, kind, devoted to family. Miranda's voice shook slightly. And have you observed Mrs. Cross's behavior toward Mr. Cross? Yes, she seems jealous, controlling, quick to anger. Lies, all lies. Vera had never met this woman, never exhibited those behaviors. But the jury didn't know that. Reasonable doubt, being created, planted, growing. Then the prosecutor stood for cross-examination. Miss Stevens, how did you come to testify today? Miranda hesitated. Mr. Cross's lawyer contacted me. Did you receive any compensation for your testimony? Long pause. Yes, $10,000. The courtroom erupted. Judge banging gavel, calling for order. Miranda started crying. I'm sorry. I can't do this. I can't lie anymore. She turned to the jury, tears streaming. Julian paid me to lie, but the truth is, he did the same thing to me. 7 years ago, he locked me in a basement apartment for 3 days when I tried to break up with him. I was too scared to press charges, too ashamed, but I can't let him do this to Vera. Can't let him hurt those babies. I'm so sorry. Chaos. Defense attorneys shouting objections. Judge calling recess. Bailiff surrounding Miranda. After recess, Miranda was recalled as rebuttal witness. This time, telling truth. Julian's abuse. The locked apartment. The fear. The control. Being too scared to report. Living with guilt for 7 years. When I heard what he did to Vera, Miranda's voice was steady now. Clear. Locked her in a freezer. Pregnant. I couldn't stay silent anymore. I could have prevented this if I'd spoken up. I have to live with that. Her testimony was devastating. Pattern established. Julian's history revealed. This wasn't one time. It was who he was. The defense had no recovery. No spin. No miracle save. They rested quickly. Cut their losses. Hoped. Closing arguments were powerful. Prosecution painted calculated evil. Woman surviving impossible. Babies born into hell. Living anyway. Defense tried. Argued reasonable doubt. Argued Miranda was unreliable. Argued misunderstanding. But their heart wasn't in it. They knew they'd lost. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Vera waited. Paced. Prayed. Tried to breathe. Alexander sat beside her. Steady. Solid. Whatever happens, we'll deal with it. But Vera needed conviction. Needed justice. Needed Julian locked away forever. The jury returned. Has the jury reached a verdict? We have. Your Honor. Vera couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Could only wait. On the charge of attempted murder of Vera Cross. How do you find? Guilty. Vera's knees buckled. Rachel caught her. On the charge of attempted murder of Lily Cross. How do you find? Guilty. On the charge of attempted murder of Rose Cross. How do you find? Guilty. On the charge of attempted murder of James Cross. How do you find? Guilty. 4 counts. All guilty. Julian would spend life in prison. No parole. No escape. No freedom. His face showed nothing. Blank. Empty. The mask permanent now. Marjorie screamed. Was escorted out. The enabling. The denial. All for nothing. Vera felt everything. Relief. Joy. Grief. Exhaustion. Victory. She'd won. Justice prevailed. But winning felt hollow. Because the trauma remained. The scars. The nightmares. The missing toes. The nerve damage. Winning didn't erase any of that. Just meant the man who caused it would face consequences. It would have to be enough. 1 year after the trial, Vera's life was transformed. She lived in a small house now, 3 bedrooms, fence yard, safe neighborhood. Rachel lived 10 minutes away. Alexander 15. The triplets were 18 months old, walking, talking, laughing, thriving. No memory of the freezer. The gift Vera fought to give them. She worked from home, marketing consultant, flexible hours, good pay, independence. Not because she had to, because she wanted to, because independence felt good. Alexander visited weekly, brought dinner, played with the triplets, asked for nothing. After 8 months of this, Vera asked, "Why are you really here?" They sat on her back porch. Evening quiet, kids asleep inside. Alexander considered his answer. 8 years ago, Julian took my faith in people. Then I found you in that freezer. And I remember what it feels like to act because it's right, not profitable. You reminded me how to be human. That's a lot of pressure. Vera smiled. No pressure, just gratitude. Comfortable silence. Vera checked her phone. Once. Progress. I'm not good at this, she admitted, at trusting, at believing someone can care without wanting something back. I know. Julian made sure of that. So why keep showing up? Because I want to. Alexander met her eyes. No agenda. No expectations. Just, I like being here. With you. With the kids. If that's okay. Vera looked at him. This man who saved her life. Who asked for nothing. Who waited without complaint. She wasn't ready. Not yet. But maybe someday. Okay, she said. Keep showing up. We'll see. His smile was sunrise after endless night. I can do that. 3 months later, Vera asked him on a real date. Dinner. Just the two of them. Rachel babysitting. It was awkward. Wonderful. Vera had forgotten how to be a woman instead of just a mother. But Alexander was patient. Made her laugh. Reminded her she was more than her trauma. More months. More dates. More slow building trust. Their first kiss happened on a Tuesday. Vera telling a story. Alexander listening. And she thought, this is what it should feel like. Safe. Easy. Right? She leaned in. Kissed him. Simple. Sweet. Perfect. When they pulled apart, she was crying. Happy tears. You okay? More than okay. I'm happy. Actually happy. I forgot what that felt like. You deserve happiness. Alexander wiped her tears. You deserve all good things. Vera believed him. For the first time. Actually believed she deserved good things. Alexander proposed on the triplets' second birthday. Small. Private. Just the 4 of them. I know you don't need me, he said. You've proven that. But I'd like to be part of your family. Adopt the kids. Be their dad. Wake up next to you for the rest of my life. If you'll have me. Vera didn't answer immediately. Checked with her therapist. With Rachel. With her own heart. Making sure she was choosing freely. Choosing love. Not need. The answer was yes. They married 6 months later. Yellow dress. The color Julian had forbidden. Reclaiming herself. Small ceremony. People who'd earned the right to celebrate. The triplets as ring bearers. Toddling. Giggling. Perfect. Vera's vows. You found me in my darkest moment. But you didn't try to fix me. You stood beside me while I fixed myself. You reminded me I was strong enough to survive anything. And now I'm strong enough to love again. 2 years after the wedding, Vera spoke at a domestic violence awareness conference. 5,000 people in the audience. She told her story. The whole story. The isolation. The control. The freezer. The birth. The survival. The healing. Julian thought he'd won. Vera said to the silent audience. Perfect plan. Isolated wife. Insurance money. Locked door. Everything perfect except one thing. He underestimated me. He saw a victim. I was a survivor. And when he pushed me to the edge, I discovered strength I never knew I had. She paused. Looked out at thousands of faces. I didn't need rescuing. I needed someone to believe me. Someone to open the door. Someone to stand beside me while I fought. That's what Alexander did. That's what all of you can do. Believe survivors. Support them. Don't try to save them. Let them save themselves. Just be the one who opens the door. Thunderous applause. Women lining up afterward. sharing stories, finding hope, asking for help. Vera hugged each one, provided resources, offered proof that survival was possible. That evening, she came home to chaos. Lily had spilled juice. Rose and James had colored on walls. Alexander was cooking dinner, managing disasters. Messy, loud, overwhelming, perfect. Mama, all three ran to her. Sticky hands, big smiles, family dinner, conversation, laughter, normal, beautifully, perfectly, normal. After kids were asleep, Vera and Alexander sat on their porch. Their ritual, their peace. What are you thinking? He asked. That Julian tried to destroy me. Instead, he freed me, forced me to discover strength I didn't know I had, pushed me into a life I never would have chosen, but can't imagine living without. He thought coal would kill you. Alexander took her hand. Instead, it forged you into someone who can't be broken. And the man who was supposed to be his enemy became my children's father, and my heart's home. They sat in comfortable silence. Stars overhead. Life continuing. Thriving. Winning. Julian died in prison 3 years into his sentence. Alone. Unmourned. Irrelevant. Vera built a foundation. Helped thousands escape abuse. Testified before Congress. Changed laws. Saved lives. Her triplets grew up healthy. Happy. Safe. Knowing only love. They knew about the freezer. Age-appropriate version. Bad man tried to hurt Mama. Mama fought. Daddy Alexander saved everyone. Bad man is gone forever. No trauma. Just a story. Ancient history. And Vera, she was happy. Actually, genuinely, completely happy. Julian had tried to write her ending. She'd taken the pen back, written her own story. A story where survivors win, where love triumphs, where coal can forge instead of destroy. That was the real story, not the freezer, not the murder attempt, not the trauma, the healing, the rebuilding, the truth that monsters don't always win. Survivors do. If the story moved you, inspired you, gave you hope, I want to hear about it. Drop a comment below. Share your thoughts. Have you survived something you thought would destroy you? Your story matters. Share it. You never know who needs to hear it. Hit that like button if you believe survivors deserve justice. Subscribe to Dr. Samuel Chronicles, because every week we share stories of ordinary people who survived extraordinary circumstances. Stories of courage, justice, hope. Share this video. Your share could be the moment someone realizes they're not alone. That escape is possible. That their story doesn't end with their abuser. Vera didn't need saving. She needed someone to believe her. Be that person for someone in your life. Thank you for being part of this community. Thank you for listening. Until next time, remember, you're stronger than you think. You're braver than you know. And you deserve a life that doesn't hurt. This is Dr. Samuel, reminding you that survival is possible. Healing is real. And your story, whatever it is, matters.